Nostradamus sure did have a lot of dark prophecies to share, and we're back to bring you some more. We're just gonna get right into it, so take it away, AJ.
Alright, so according to this dude who lived half a millennium ago, 2024 is gonna be jam-packed with all kinds of crazy crap going on, and if somehow all of Nostradamus' predictions do come true this year, then not only are you gonna need to build yourself a nuclear bunker, but you also may need to build an ark too. That's right, the biblical flood is coming. It was said to be caused by seemingly endless torrents of rain so powerful that it literally left no mountain above the surface, submerging every single continent and turning the entire planet into one huge ocean. In the book of Genesis, this flood was sent out by God because the big man upstairs was so displeased with how the human race turned out that he decided to essentially annihilate everyone and everything, save for Noah, his family, and 2 of every species of animals. So if you ever dreamed of sailing or living out your best pirate life, then according to Nostradamus, the time has come this year.
AJ's point leads me to another possible scenario. This biblical-sized flood could send us into a water world scenario, and that would really be a nightmare. Out of all the cool movie worlds I'd want to live in, water world, very low on that list. I actually think it's kind of a cool movie, but it's not amazing or anything, and certainly not a world I'd want to live in. For one thing, I'd be seasick the entire time. I like a nice cruise on a boat, but I could not do it 24/7. And in this situation, so much of humanity would have already perished. Now what's left of us would be floating around on makeshift rafts or stranded on top of skyscrapers surrounded by water. And just like in Waterworld, there'd be rowdy bandits on jet skis pillaging and plundering their way across the sea. If you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell.
Next up, let's talk about how Nostradamus predicted that the sky is falling. Now, I'm not sure if this particular prophecy is meant to be taken literally or is some sort of metaphor or something like that, but in one of Nostradamus' passages, he describes how the moon, yes, the literal moon, will fall out of the sky, out of orbit, and collide with Earth. I have no idea how this could be interpreted, so I'm just gonna take it at face value here. Now, the moon is locked in orbit and wouldn't be able to collide with Earth on its own. It would need a ginormous force, like way bigger than anything we've ever seen, in order to shove the moon out of its orbit, like some kind of celestial event with absurd amounts of power. Now, coincidentally, NASA recently rediscovered a 54 million ton asteroid that will make its way past Earth in October of this year. Now, NASA has said that there's a 1 in 11.5 million chance of this asteroid colliding with Earth, so the odds of that happening are quite slim. But with that being said, if this asteroid misses the Earth and hits the moon instead, the impact of the moon smashing into Earth would be like the ultimate doomsday scenario, and like a cosmic game of dominoes would actually lead to a lot of his other predictions coming true. Picture an explosion so massive it makes the most enormous volcanic eruption seem like a tiny little. The energy released would shake the planet to its core, causing seismic waves that would make earthquakes look like child's play. And the sky, just forget about it. A cloud of debris would shoot up, blocking out the sun and plunging us into darkness. But wait, it gets worse. The aftermath would be a global nightmare. The Earth's crust would crack and heave, triggering mega tsunamis that would drown coastlines. And the sky-high dust would mess up our climate big time, leading to a deep freeze or a scorching heat wave, making it nearly impossible for life to survive on Earth.
All right, I'm gonna piggyback off AJ's point once again to discuss the aftermath of this falling sky scenario in greater detail. So one possible scenario, of course, is that the Earth experiences this massive heat wave, with the land left completely scorched. It's hard to believe that anyone would survive all of that, but let's just say there were some stragglers, the last remnants of humanity aimlessly wandering through the wasteland in some sort of Mad Max scenario, lips cracked, mouths dry, barely any water left in their bodies, dreaming of the days where their bottoms were damp with perspiration. Sounds like a real nightmare. But if they did manage to survive, to begin building a new society in the scorched desert sands coating the entire planet, who then would rise? Well, this would be the exact opposite of our water world scenario. Here, liquid would be the planet's greatest commodity. Roaming bands of mutated bandits would scour the sands, crushing anyone with precious water who stood in their path.
Next up, let's talk about the Devourer of Worlds. Now, if you thought these predictions were absolutely insane, you haven't seen nothing yet. In part 2 of this series, James touched on how Nostradamus predicted that beings from other planets, yeah, that's right, aliens, would wage war against Earth. But apparently, these aliens are going to be the least of our problems. You see, later on in that same passage, Nostradamus described a celestial being, not unlike God himself, who will come down upon the Earth and devour all that remains of our wrecked planet, literally consuming the entire freaking world. Now, it seems like these aliens are just the heralds of doom in this scenario. Maybe they were just attempting to warn us about this impending doom, but our simple monkey brains just start attacking, all the while a literal planet eater slowly but surely approaches Earth to consume it. And it won't just be Earth either. Apparently, this being is so massive that it will swallow up all of the planets in the entire solar system, including the sun itself, leaving behind a void of darkness as it carves its way through the Milky Way. Honestly, this sounds like where Stan Lee got his inspiration for the Marvel villain Galactus. Like, Nostradamus might have been onto something, right? Or maybe, just maybe, this is the cosmic force that's said to push the moon into Earth. How crazy would it be if Galactus himself was the first domino to kickstart the end of the world? Probably not, but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
And where will we end up if a Galactus-type entity consumes us? I mean, sure, we might just cease to exist or get crushed in some sort of dark void, but what if this Galactus situation is something more like the black hole we discussed in part 3? What if we end up far out into the middle of space in some nightmarish realm, surrounded on all sides by aggressive alien fleets, immediately demanding to know what we're doing in their solar system? Sure, the world wouldn't have ended, but we'd be in an entirely different kind of nightmare. Aliens start descending upon our planet, shoving their blasters in our faces, grilling us with questions through their advanced universal translators. What creatures are you? You invade our solar system? No. We've been transported here by a large, unknown entity in a purple spacesuit. We've been trying desperately to return home. Basically Star Trek. That's the world I want to live in, not Waterworld.
Next up, let's talk zombies. In the previous part of the series, James mentioned how Nostradamus predicted a plague spread by birds, or as some of you in the comments like to describe them, government spies. Now, a few predictions later, Nostradamus goes on to explain how human beings will go insane with rage and devour one another. If we put 2 and 2 together here, we can surmise that birds will be the one to pass this virus onto humans, which will have some sort of mad cow disease effect on human beings, leading to a literal zombie outbreak. Now, if you've been keeping up with the news recently, there's actually a bird flu going around right now that has been called a highly pathogenic avian influenza, which is wiping out bird populations and even other species of animals across the globe. Now, perhaps it's this virus that mutates into something much worse that causes this terrifying zombie scenario, or it could be something totally different, like the Last of Us type of fungus that drives humans mad. I mean, Nostradamus doesn't usually dive into the details, but in any case, mass human hysteria and eating one another really does not sound like a good time.
Alright, this horrifying idea of humans eating one another could also be interpreted in another way. What if it's not necessarily us literally eating each other, but the technology we've created eating us? Now, we've talked about AI being our downfall in this series, but what about VR specifically? I tried VR for the first time a couple months back, and I gotta say, if I had it in my home, I'd be on there far more than I'd like to admit. It is pretty cool, and you know the technology is only going to improve. A VR game so advanced, so immersive, could draw us in so deeply that the lines between reality and fiction begin to blur, or maybe we just no longer care about the real world because we can throw on a pair of goggles and live in a world where we fly around on Falcor from the Neverending Story, shooting at Klingons with RoboCop's Auto 9 pistol. Like, should I spend my day doing that? Or should I go to my cousin's funeral? I only met her like once, I barely even knew her, I don't think the family would care. You know what, I have a date with Lara Croft at 3, I'd better just stay right where I am. You can see from my incredibly realistic scenario that VR may become so easy to get lost in that our minds literally become consumed by it.
Next, let's talk Planet of the Apes. So Nostradamus' predictions actually extend beyond the tragic and apparently horrifically violent end of humanity. According to the Prophet of Doom, when it's all said and done, humanity will have successors that will dominate what remains of Earth long after we're gone. But it won't be reptilian lizard people. thank God. Actually, our successors will be a lot closer to us on the evolutionary tree. Apes. Yeah, that's right. It seems like Pierre Boulle took a page out of the Nostradamus doomsday playbook. If you've seen any of the Planet of the Apes movies or read the book, you'll know that these hyper-intelligent primates can be basically just as cruel as humans. So it seems like even in the event when all of us are wiped out, there will always be monkeys running the earth. You know, on second thought, maybe we should give the reptiles a try.
Right, maybe our successors won't be reptilians or apes at all, though. Maybe the future is fish. We mentioned a massive size flood at the very start of this list, followed by a water world scenario. Well, it's very logical to assume then that if this is the direction Earth went, the creatures of the sea would become more abundant and possibly even evolve into a new form of intelligent life. Or perhaps the remnants of humanity would evolve to become more fish-like, like take Kevin Costner in Waterworld. He had gills and he could breathe underwater. He was a fish mutant. It happened in that movie, so it's gotta be true.
So here are some of our favorite comments from the previous part of the list. Thank you to everybody who left a nice comment. Subzer00704 said that these predictions sound a lot like a Gears of War plot. He's totally right.
7 Swords in. Each video becomes more and more accurate. Just wait until you see this one. This is the truth.
Please don't give us a part 5. Cindy Enrico the Coonhound's Cross says that we are your 2 favorite hosts. Awesome, let's go.
Bam. And Chris Gaines 6369, I am not lucky enough for humanity or the world to end.
Yeah, us neither. As always, if there's a doomsday scenario as predicted by Nostradamus that we missed, feel free to give us some suggestions down in the comments.
Yes, my name is James.
And I'm AJ with Most Amazing, and we'll catch you all in another video.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.